Close your eyes for a second. Picture a scaffold against sandstone at dawn, hands at work slightly above your head, the smell of river dust, and a single tool finding the same groove it has for 100 years. Listen. The stone answers. Quiet stones, loud stories. Hello and welcome to Ancient Echoes KH. I'm Samnang Bradley. Today, we climb behind scaffolds to meet the people who still read and write on stone, the masons who leave marks, who mend, and who pass craft from hand to hand. I promise you chisels, old marks, and a few decisions about repair that aren't as simple as they look.
And I'm Sovan Linda. We'll pause for context, listen closely to on-site voices, and then return with an expert reflection about conservation choices. This is about technique, yes, but also memory, how a cut in stone can hold a story.
Context Corner, a quick framing before we walk the temple ledges. Khmer stonemasonry has a long arc, royal projects, village workshops, and craft that slipped into different hands after the 15th century. Mason marks are simple signatures or assembly guides carved into blocks. Some tell you who shaped that piece, others guided placement. Conservation today balances structural safety, historical evidence, and communities' relationships to places. We'll add sources in the show notes so you can dig deeper. I stood on a scaffold as the sun warmed carved lentils. A journeyman named Dara, he's in his 40s, steady hands, the sort of eyes that read stone like a map, pointed to a faint crosscut and said, "This is not just a mark, brother. This is a family's name." He tapped a faint symbol and then tapped again to show clustering, the way blocks once fit together. Dara explained how centuries ago, teams at quarry sites would label blocks so masons at the temple knew where to place them. Later, as repairs came, those marks helped people identify older interventions and sometimes the hand that did the work. He read one mark like a hymn, slow, reverent, and told me it matched a mason mark found in a 19th century repair ledger he'd seen in a provincial archive.
The layers matter. From a conservation standpoint, those marks are evidence of continuous use and repair. They show us how communities interacted with the temple over time. But we must be careful. Interpreting symbolism can easily drift into certainty when what we have are fragments. That's why we bring in local memory alongside the marks themselves.
A few hours later, I met Mrs. Kanya, 80 years old and still making tools in a little courtyard workshop near the quarry road. She laughed, soft and quick, as she showed me a rasp smoothed by decades of use. "We made our own tools," she said, "and our children learned at our elbow." Her memory of quarry routes, the names of small bends and river stones, was precise in a way that maps aren't. For her, the route was a story of family work. She described a seasonal rhythm, dry months for cutting, rainy months for shaping and fitting. She told me apprentices moved slowly from basic tasks, sweeping, carrying, to the first small chisels, then to carving under watchful eyes. Her voice grew quiet when she said, "When you touch the stone, you learn its history."
That apprenticeship detail is key. It's how intangible heritage is transmitted, technique plus stories. In the anthropological sense, the craft is taught through demonstration, correction, and shared work rhythms. That is evidence as important as any mark in a ledger.
Not all conversations were nostalgic. At a conservation yard, I met a technician named Chun, who carries the difficult choices of repair. He pointed to a corner where a previous restoration had used cement, common 15 or 20 years ago, and shook his head. "It holds, but it harms the stone's breath," he said. He was wrestling with whether to remove that repair, knowing removal risks further loss. Chun showed me a block with a faint mason mark partially lost under a patch. "If we remove this, can we record everything? Can we protect the people who depend on this work?" He was thinking of local masons, tourism, conservation jobs, and long-term heritage. It was obvious, stone conservation is social as much as technical.
Let me add a small note here. Conservation practice has shifted in recent decades from fix everything to honor the story. That means sometimes leaving an old repair because it tells part of a site's recent history, other times carefully documenting and removing harmful materials. The complexity is why we consult both technicians and community craftspersons before deciding.
I asked Dara what he thought when he saw a repaired lintel. He shrugged and grinned. "We are not gods of stone," he said. "We are caretakers for the next hands." That line stayed with me, the humility of craft. They look for traces, a chisel stroke here, a mason mark there, the way a replaced block settles into its neighbors. Each trace is a signature, a conversation across generations. Soundscape interlude. Imagine distant bells, wind over lintels, the measured rhythm of mallets at work, and a sparing bird call from the trees above. Breathe with the place. Let these rhythms settle before the next layer of reflection.
I want to quote a conservation specialist I spoke with. Her words are short but important. Document first, intervene slowly, and always center local knowledge. Those 3 steps guide ethical work. They remind us that conservation isn't an outside fix. It should be collaborative, transparent, and reversible where possible.
We also spoke about symbolic meaning. Some mason marks are practical, some carry family or workshop identity, but interpreting them as ritual without local testimony is risky. So we prioritized voices like Dara and Mrs. Kanya, who carry memory in their hands. They tell us when a mark is merely a work code and when it hints at a maker's pride.
Practical takeaway for listeners: if you visit a temple and see conservation work, keep these simple rules in mind. Don't climb scaffolds or touch active restoration. Ask permission before photographing craftspersons. And if you want to support skill transmission, look for local initiatives or workshops that pay artisans fairly.
And when you ask to record or photograph, be specific. Explain how the recording will be used, wait for consent, and offer to share the finished piece with the artisan or community. Little acts of respect make a big difference.
If you want to support longer-term preservation, consider donating to vetted craft apprenticeship programs or local conservation trusts rather than buying antique fragments. That helps keep skills alive without encouraging removal of material from sites.
Before we close, the simplest image I carry from this day is a mason's hand tracing a faint mark, as if reading a line from a poem. Craft keeps memory in muscle and mark. As long as those hands teach the next hands, the temple remains a living conversation.
Thank you for walking the stones with us today. In the show notes, you'll find sources, recommended organizations that support artisan apprenticeships, and credits for the people who shared their time. We include notes about informed consent and compensation there too.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Ancient Echoes KH so we can keep bringing you these field stories. More artisans, more rhythms, more secret marks. Walk the temples with me. Listen, learn, belong. Quiet stones, loud stories.